Welcome to Richmond Events Podcast, Leaders in the Industry, where we sit together with top-notch leaders discussing important topics in the HR, IT, marketing, finance and healthcare industry. Today's topic will be mainly about changes in customer needs. For this, we have invited Marco Schmellentin from Allgemeines Treuunternehmen to talk about what it takes to be a leader in the industry. Sit back and enjoy. Just a little introduction to Marco. He worked at VB Bank in Vaduz for 30 years, of which he spent 20 years on advising and assisting fiduciary lawyers and family offices, including 7 years as head of department with 15 client advisors and assistants. After 30 years, he decided to switch to the client side and has been working as a senior client advisor at Allgemeines Treuunternehmen in Vaduz. Now, let's start with the first question. Welcome, Marco. How did you enter the financial industry and what continuously inspires you to keep working in this field?
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast, as it is the first time I'm on this medium. So, I'm really looking forward to talk to you then. I started a classic banking apprenticeship at a Liechtenstein bank when I was 16, because banking, or what I've thought banking is, simply fascinating me. Although at that age, who really knows what to expect from choosing a career? At 16, let's see what's going to happen. There was probably also a bit of romance involved, in the sense of gold bars, cash shares, and currency, without knowing that there's much more behind it than shares and currencies and everything. So after my apprenticeship, I worked for 3 years, then as a client advisor at the cash desk, then worked for 6 months in a trading department in Luxembourg. And after my return from Luxembourg, I got stuck in the department that looks after trust companies, lawyers, family offices. And in the 7 years, as you already mentioned, before changing jobs in 2021, I also was head of the department with 15 client advisors, assistants, and was also part of the bank's key management. So a banker through and through. And as you mentioned, I was in banking for 30 years at the same bank. So until last autumn, my CV looked like a broomstick. So not really exciting. I have remained loyal to the financial industry even after leaving the bank. And why? For me personally, it is one of the most interesting, exciting industries around, because it is dynamic and constantly in a changing process. And I like that. Not everything, of course, but I was and I am always open to new and challenging things. But that's not the only thing that motivates and inspires me again and again. At the heart of it all are people, employees, colleagues, as well as clients, very important. And that is the exciting thing, listening, talking to them, picking out their needs, understanding them, working on, and then finding solutions together. And the constant change in the environment contributes greatly to the fact that you never really run out of work. So boring, we don't know the word boring.
That's good to hear, and especially add some tips. Could you give us regarding client counseling and what should we look out for, especially for customer needs?
Well, very important is listen and understand. So putting people and their needs at the center of your work. And how can we advise clients properly if we have not understood them and their needs? So let's take the topics, new products and innovations, for example. We all know how it is when the same smart people, and when I say same smart people, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's how it works in most companies, always talk about new products and new services. Always the same people talking about new things, and in the end, you often produce something that completely or partially misses the client's needs, and then you are surprised that you are stuck with it. I mean, hello. Talk to your clients and listen to what they have to say. And we are in a service industry, service to the client, service to a person's needs. Clients also feel taken seriously and build a trust, the absolute basis for everything, for our business. When we listen to them, understand them, and also deliver what they really need. There are enough examples of financial service providers in the market who want to be super innovative, leave safe paths, and then lose the plot.
Yeah.
So the worst thing that can happen is when you lose touch with the basic business and the qualities that made the business successful because of all the innovation and new business areas you try to look for to get different ways to get a profit. So, but you should never forget where you came from, what made you successful, because that's also the reason why the clients are with the financial institution. Clients who have helped to make the financial institution great. So if you lose sight of your origins and the basis, this could have really negative consequences and negative impacts. So stick to yourself and not everything you did in the past is wrong. You don't have to change it all the time. You have to make amendments and you have to invest in new business, new areas. But it's very important that you know where you're coming from and never forget it.
Yeah, that's really a good input. And I think the customer needs really changed. And if you look to the future, what do you see in the future for client counseling?
It's client counseling. It's a very exciting area, and I think we're also in an exciting development here. Life is already very complicated, as we all know, not only in business, in private lives as well, and private lives of clients do very much matter in our business. So, and it doesn't get any better. So in the past, I'm referring to many, many moons ago, the client advice was kind of a one-man show, which is impossible nowadays. So if you want to provide excellent, highly professional service, you need specialists for almost everything: tax, investments, law, and the client advisor has become more of a troubleshooter, a linchpin between all the stakeholders, and very important relationship manager. That is not going to change. And that's when I'm getting to the topic of digitalization, a word that has been really omnipresent for many years now and has been a bit of a scare for some people who fear for their jobs, especially the client advisors. So we're all familiar with questions such as, is the robo-advisor going to replace the human being? So do I see such a development as a danger for counseling? I don't see. In my opinion, the computer is far from being able to replace a human being. In many cases, counseling is people's business, or in most cases, it is people's business. It may sound funny now, but in certain situations, you have to feel, to see, and even to smell the person you're in the room with in order to understand them, to know what they mean, to know what they feel. It sounds maybe old-fashioned, but well, I'm an old-fashioned guy, so open to new areas. However, I like the hybrid approach. You know, the new technology, it's fantastic for a support. Even as I already said, life is very complicated and doesn't get very much easier. The hybrid approach to find a solution, the digital, the artificial, as a support for humans in the world, that is becoming more and more complex. So the right interaction will play an important role in the future. That's what I think. I mean, a craftsman often uses, in addition, machines to produce a top quality product. The machine cannot do it alone, and the person can't do it alone. So, but both together, they create something very unique, or can create something very unique. And together it works. So what will always be central from my point of view, I already mentioned, is our people and their needs. So it's people's business, the counselor's ability to listen and understand, the interpersonal, the trust. This must not be underestimated and must be taken care of. So don't lose the focus on the people and their needs. So, and I don't think that the classic client advisor will be replaced by machines, because it's a human being is more complex than it can be analyzed by a computer, and he's then giving the output with the right solution. So it's a combination of both. That's what I think will be the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. And just step also a little bit to your personal future. Do you have any special projects coming up for the related or to the relation to financial industry, or is there any other plans?
No, it will be a short answer to this one, because, after 30 years being with the same bank and switching now my employer, the biggest project is my personal transformation, the transformation phase of my career change. And I am in an exciting and dynamic learning phase. So that's what I really enjoy. I was 30 years with a bank and then left my comfort zone to move into another business within the financial industry. So to exaggerate, I can say, well, before I just came to the office and I knew everything. You asked me, I had the answer ready. I had the solutions, everything worked. I was in a complete comfort zone. And now I'm like an apprentice. So it's 50% is what I can gain from my experience. And the other 50% is like, I have to learn. And that's currently the biggest project, because I have high expectations of myself and I want to fulfill them.
Yeah.
So that's let's say what are my plans in the near future. And at the moment, I don't have any special projects lined up, though. So except maybe the requests from you for a speech in November in Bad Ragaz. And I did some columns in the past myself for the bank. I worked for quite a few ones, and I'm really proud I wrote them all myself. I just needed marketing to see is everything in line, and is it good for printing, but I did it all myself. I did a few speeches, but it was more internal or with the clients I already knew. So it was a kind of a comfort zone. And the next step, I'm into Bad Ragaz on 3rd of November, is a new step and a step outside of my comfort zone. And maybe if I, let's say, succeed, this could be also something I would like to do in the future.
Yeah, good idea. That's really a good idea. And from your past experience and also for now, what makes a good leader in your eyes?
Well, that's not a big difference to a client advisor. A good leader has to be a good listener and understander. So again, it takes a lot of empathy, trust, and especially honesty. That's something I think is sometimes a little bit missing nowadays. One dishonesty and one loss of trust, and you lose your colleague. And in the worst case, you lose the whole team. So it's very sensitive topic. Not everyone is made for this function. So it's nice to have to say, well, you're now head of a department, you're head of this or that, and it's nice. Maybe you look at your salary, then it's okay, but the responsibility you're going to get and to be a really successful leader, it takes more than just to be somewhere in a organigram. It's more than that. And on the one hand, there is the emotional, the human component. On the other hand, there's the pressure to succeed, budgets, figures, deadlines versus personal problems of employees, development discussions, recognizing, promoting, salary discussions, performance reviews. The important thing, I think, has to be the manager, the head of a department or whatever, should be a good person and have a bit of good common sense. Your people have to feel you. It's not that, he's the boss. You have to be part of a team. It's very important nowadays, especially in hard times where the regulator is pushing, you have to do this and that. 80% is administration, 20% you do in the job you're actually hired for. So it's you have to motivate them well, and being good at your job and knowing the business helps as well. So my personal targets were always being better than the best client advisor of my team and being a good person, sticking with my promises, protecting my team. So and I think it went very well in the past, and I don't think it will work in the future as well.
Okay. At the end, could you give us a small teaser into your topic for the Richmond PIMS Forum? Your topic is change in customer needs.
Well, when I was asked to speak on the topic changing customer needs, I immediately accepted because I thought it was relatively a simple topic, as it leaves a lot of room for content. Probably too much room for me because I found out I didn't know how to start and where to start at first. Now I have a plan. Just to assure you, I have a plan. You can probably talk about client behavior for hours, if not days. And then afterwards, you can discuss what you talked about for another couple of weeks. And I decided on a title, Changing Customer Needs, or How Customer Needs Changed Us. And we'll give a personal retrospective of my 30-year career or my experience made during this time with regard to customer needs and their changes. I'm not a scientist, as you probably heard and see my CV that looks like a broomstick. I'm not a scientist, which is why you will hear a clear, simple, practical observation, even if one or the other of my statements is peppered with anecdotes and should be understood with a twinkle in my eye. My contribution should be able to provide one or the other food for thought for everyone.
Okay, good. Marco, thank you very much for this time, for that podcast. And it will be great to welcome you in Bad Ragaz beginning November. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to November. Thank you.